Well, Trump got some browning points from Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu on Monday. Netanyahu says Trump is doing exactly what he wants. And this is a template that other governments should use to do what Netanyahu wants. Trump is basically being a good dog, and other nations should do this too. What he's talking about is the war on anti-Semitism. What he is admitting is that Israel now has the power to define anti-Semitism and get people punished for what is not really anti-Semitism. It's criticizing the government of Israel. Now, when in the comments I see, oh, you're being anti-Semitic because we criticize handily, the government of Israel has nothing to do with Jewish people or Jewish practitioners. We're talking about criticizing Israel. Netanyahu very much would like you to get those two things confused and get arrested and get kicked out of a country if you're an immigrant, and get punished and get deplatformed if you criticize Israel, because they would like the definition of anti-Semitism to engulf that. So you can't criticize the government. When you can't criticize the government, guess where you're headed? Not to a good place. Watch this clip, and then after, watch Trump's accountant and Israeli ambassador David Friedman take this even a step further when he says the government should jail student protesters and critics of the government of Israel, like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. They should put them to jail because we can't win them over ideologically. Watch.
These ignorant demonstrators. Who are they demonstrating for? For these murderers, these rapists, these mass killers. This is a reflection of a deep rot that has pervaded the intellectual hub of free societies. And this vilification of Israel, the Jewish people, and Western values has been propagated by a systemic alliance between the ultra-progressive left and radical Islam. It must be resolutely fought by civilized societies to safeguard their future. This is why we must all commend President Trump's decisive actions against anti-Semitism, and we must pressure other governments to do the same.
A government can do
just a second. He's saying we pressured the United States and got our way, so we got to pressure other governments too. That's unacceptable, right? How do you feel about that, knowing that the pressure of a foreign government has now put laws down on your own life? Now watch, again, this second part where this gentleman will say that we just got to jail these people. We can't win ideologically, so straight to jail.
And so when we talk about the importance of a bipartisan fight against anti-Semitism, which of course I endorse, and I, as my predecessor said, I condemn anti-Semitism on the right and on the left. I'm an equal opportunity condemner of anti-Semitism.
You're alluding to Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, none of them are any good on the right. On the left, I don't like any of these anti-Semites, and I'm not shy about it. But the government, the United States government, or the government of France, or the government of any other country, has the power to rein in anti-Semitism in a much more effective way. And you know, people say, well, you know, the governments are not in the business of changing the way people think. That's true, but, you know, to my thinking, most people who are, you know, anti-Semites, most of these people running around, we're not going to win their hearts and minds because they don't have hearts and they don't have minds. So, you know, how are we going to, there's no reason to think we're ever going to convince them, but we can deport them, we can put them in jail, we can make their lives miserable, we can cut off their funding, and that's what the Trump administration is doing for the first time.
Wow,
so they're applauding that. Yeah. That's crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, he just said the government doesn't do anything to influence people, but it's like they're making you think that anti-Semitism and being against what Israel is doing is the same thing. That's so frustrating. Because we would be on that list. It's incredibly
frustrating. Right, because it's nonsense. We all know that you should be able to criticize a government without it extrapolating it to their people. We criticize America all the time. We're not self-hating Americans.
Well, just to chime in, it's also legal to be anti-Semitic.
Yes.
I mean, that is still free speech. I don't condone it, but what are they going to, like, anybody they deem racist now goes straight to jail? Is that where we're at? Yes. Or is it, you know, it's, yeah. But that's not what they're saying.
Literally what he just said. Yeah.
Right, but he's not saying any racism. He's saying just specifically anti-Semitism.
Right, but how long until this is extrapolated to any group that you want as a control mechanism? If you read 1984, it's put rats on your head if you don't agree. I will make you think this, right? Because I can't win the logic argument. So I will punish you. I will put you in jail until you parrot the government line. The Trump administration is taking this even further. Now they are reviewing nearly $9 billion in federal grants at Harvard while it investigates how the university handled anti-Semitism. Now, the administration said that they have proven that they will, quote, take swift action to hold institutions accountable if they allow anti-Semitism to fester, and they will not hesitate to ask if Harvard fails to do so. They will not hesitate to act. Now, what is it that Harvard is guilty of? There are no reports of actual violence, but there were confrontations between pro-Palestinian and pro-Israel students, and they confronted each other and they doxed each other. So why is only one group being protected here and not the other? The other group was harmed too. Columbia was targeted by the Trump administration just days ago, and they capitulated to the government demands to review policies towards Jewish students, including allowing them to review the curriculum. So what's happening here? Why are our rights being eroded for one group only? In a congressional hearing on Monday, Rabbi Levi Shemtov told the Senate that it's not enough to be anti-Semitic. Watch.
Anti-Semitism is not just an age-old prejudice. It is a contemporary crisis manifesting on campuses across the nation. It is not enough for individuals or institutions to merely claim they are not anti-Semitic. As my father once taught me, it is not enough for people, especially public figures, to be neutral or not be anti-Semitic. One must be anti-Semitic. We must demand the same of our universities and government institutions. This hearing, in my opinion, is an attempt to be just that, anti-Semitic.
All right, where have you heard this before? Anti-Semitic. Where does this ring a bell? Over the last few years, it should, because this is a playbook out of the Obama and the Biden administrations. We heard nonstop from the Democrats, only it was about blacks mostly. And this was the birth of neo-racism, which is ranking people by race and color to bestow privileges on some and not others. So it's worthwhile to ask, why are only some groups worthy of extra protections and others are told to just stop being babies, they're not victims, move on? So if you sort of came around on this rhetoric by Republicans that neo-racism is racism and critical race theory is racism, wouldn't you feel kind of betrayed watching them do it to Jews and say, no, but Jews are actually the victims here, and so they get special protections? It rings hollow when you say, oh, no, it's not a thing, but it's a thing for them and them only. How do you reconcile that? And again, I go back to the way we covered the BLM riots and this and the neo-racism is that the law needs to be enforced equally. If Jewish students get hurt, their perpetrators should be punished. If there are, vandalized classrooms disrupted, prosecute that equally. There's no need to say we're going to prosecute only on certain racial groups and not others. Just a reminder that this hearing is still there to promote the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, which did pass the House in 2023 and is still with the Senate. And it broadens the definition of anti-Semitism to include criticisms of Israel. It also would include, and this comes from the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, saying this separate group defines anti-Semitism from now on. So that group can broaden the definition and we will prosecute you accordingly. It also says that you couldn't publicize any, quote, claims of Jews killing Jesus. So the Bible, therefore, becomes anti-Semitic. Does the Trump administration and Congress really want to forbid people from criticizing Israel as law? Are they going to go further and put people in jail, as was suggested? Is this literally Netanyahu pulling the puppet strings of Trump? How can you see it any other way? Why? So let me know what you think of that before we move on.
And unfortunately, you look at all of the people in the Senate and Congress that are on the dole for Israel, even the Speaker of the House. So it's like, if that legislation is proposed, it'll probably pass. Yeah.
And I just think, I wonder, people like me who maybe were proponents of critical race theory and then studied it and realized, oh, this is not helping anybody, actually. This is probably hurting Black people more than anything else. We're making them professional victims. We're denying their own progress that they made on their own before the Civil Rights Act. We should not be the government should not be in the business of this. I want nothing to do with it. And then I feel really betrayed to have the party that broke this down build it back up for a different group. And I wonder, if I were Black and had come around to that same conclusion, wouldn't I feel betrayed? What do you think of that, David? You don't have to.
I mean, I think it's
specifically, but
I don't agree with any of it.
I don't understand it. I just don't understand it, how you can break it down to build it back up. Okay.
Yeah.
Redacted is brought to you by Home Title Lock. Now, this is something, if you're a homeowner.
Well, I have to tell you. No, I want to tell you because I want to talk all about this, because I don't know if you know, the scammers can literally steal your home right out from under you. And it's unbelievable, because I got some new data on this. The FBI calls it house stealing, and it's a growing real estate scam right now that's targeting American homeowners. And here's how it works. So criminals basically forge your signature on one document. Then they use a fake notary stamp. And you can get these things printed out like easily on Amazon, a fake notary stamp. And then they stamp it. They pay a small fee, and then you file it with your local recorder's office, and then boom, just like that, your home title is literally transferred out of your name. Stolen, gone. And this happens in the middle of the night. And I've spoken to individuals that this has happened to, and it's terrifying. Then they can actually take out loans on your behalf using the equity in your home. FBI is saying this is one of the largest and fastest growing crimes in the country. So let me ask you, when's the last time that you checked your home title? If you're like me, the answer is never, and that's exactly what scammers are hoping and they're counting on. That's why we trust Home Title Lock. We pay for it. We are users of Home Title Lock for our own home, and you can do it too. You get your first 30 days of triple lock home title protection for free. It's HometitleLock.com/redacted. You'll get urgent alerts if there are any changes. You get immediate 24/7 monitoring of your property. And they have $1 million triple lock protection that helps keep your home safe and your equity safe. And if fraud should happen, this is amazing. This is probably the best part of their service. They have a U.S.-based team that will restore the title to you. Their team will do it for you. They'll get your title back, and they will spend up to $1 million to fix the fraud and restore your title at no additional cost. So these guys are amazing. I've talked to their whole team. I've talked to people who've been affected by this and who have been saved by them. I'm telling you, these guys are fantastic. So HometitleLock.com/redacted. Go there. Your first 30 days of triple home title lock protection is free. Again, use our promo code redacted and click on the link in the description. HometitleLock.com/redacted.
Well, let's move on to Europe. Europe is going all in on punishing politicians that they don't like, specifically the more right-leaning ones. In France, opposition leader Marine Le Pen was banned for standing office for 5 years and sentenced to jail after being convicted of embezzling funds. Now, we're going to look at exactly what she was convicted for in a second, but this would block her from taking the presidency, and she was on track to do it because, well, for many reasons. France is a mess. Emmanuel Macron has made it that way on purpose. There's no reason to trust progressive leaders in Europe. Emmanuel Macron is the number one dude. He wants war so badly he can taste it. He also has sex scandals and scandals inside of his office. There was a weird scandal about one of his main presidential advisors dressing up as a policeman to go beat up protesters. Like the main first White House advisor was basically that job, the equivalent of France. So yeah, anyone who likes him, I don't know, you have your head so far up your butthole. I don't know what to say to you. So that's why Marine Le Pen was so popular. That's why they had to come after her. Now she joins the ranks of Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil, Imran Khan in Pakistan, Matteo Salvini in Italy, Calin Georgescu in Romania recently, and I would add to that Donald Trump in the United States. Modern opposition leaders jailed or nearly jailed in Trump's case as they were poised to take office and disrupt leftist agendas. Now, Le Pen stormed out of the courtroom before the verdict was read, and she muttered the word unbelievable in French. On X, she vowed to continue fighting injustice until the end. Now, I think it would just be foolish. It would be foolish to see this as an impartial trial. Clearly, they wanted her out of the race. She was tried for financial records between the years 2004 so more than 20 years ago now, to 2016. But 9 years later, she gets a verdict right when they need her out of the race. She was accused of using EU funds for parliamentary assistance. So she was an MP in European Parliament, but she also was, working in a capacity for the French government. They're saying you commingled the funds. And she said, well, a lot of my assistants commingled their jobs. And she didn't take anything for herself. And that is a valid argument, but they didn't buy it. She took nothing for herself, and the punishment is much harsher than others of this kind. So clearly they just needed her out of the race. Every subsequent election, she has gained popularity, and they just can't have that. Now in Europe, they also want to punish Viktor Orban from Hungary, if only they can just figure out how. The incoming German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, has drafted laws to demand that the EU, quote, withhold funds and suspend voting rights from countries that violate key principles, such as the rule of law. Well, that's very broad, right? So can we punish a country that's violating our key principles? Well, you can define that however you want. They didn't specifically call out Orban, but Politico.eu says it's clear that Hungary opposes their agenda, such as wanting war, such as wanting mass migration.